Write your personal morality from 0 to 100. Where do you sit compared to others? Statistically, the average score must be 50, but when asked, almost everyone assumes they rank higher. We all think we're a solid 75. Most of us are judging ourselves based on an ideal version of our character, an image that often feels disconnected from the way we actually navigate the world. To see if that image survives reality, researchers designed a test. They gathered a group of volunteers, handed them a set of math puzzles, and promised to pay them cash for every correct answer. The researchers allowed the participants to grade their own tests, shred the original worksheets, and simply report their scores out loud. There was no way for anyone to detect a lie. Given a consequence-free opportunity, ordinary, good people will consistently cheat. It turns out our ethical self-perception is often built on a very shaky foundation. The results were undeniable. The group allowed to destroy our evidence reported significantly higher puzzle scores than a control group whose tests were strictly monitored. In the mind of the cheater, they aren't actually stealing. They instantly rationalize the bump in their score as a careless error they would have gotten right anyway if they just had a few more seconds. This behavior exposes an ethical double standard. We judge others incredibly harshly for their moral failings, but we give our own missteps a free pass. That double standard provides psychological cover, allowing a person to commit an unethical act and walk away firmly believing they still possess a pristine character. Our brains are actively hiding our hypocrisy from us. When pushed, the human mind prioritizes the protection of the ego over maintaining actual integrity. Psychologists call this bounded ethicality. It describes the precise ways human beings systematically do bad things without ever realizing it. Take a look at this image. At first glance, your brain likely filters out the vital information, leaving you staring at a chaotic collection of black and white splotches. Now, focus on the center. There is a Dalmatian dog sniffing the ground. Once your mind perceives the dog, it becomes impossible to unsee it. This is a physical demonstration of cognitive limitation. Our brains aggressively filter reality until forced to recognize a specific pattern. We apply this exact same filtering mechanism to morality. Consider a mother who decides not to vaccinate her child because she fears a potential link to autism. Her focus on protecting her own child commands all of her attention. That focus makes her completely blind to the ethical reality of her choice. She is actively endangering other immune-compromised children in her community. Unethical choices are rarely made out of conscious malice. Instead, when we get tunnel vision on a specific goal, the ethical dimensions of a choice are literally rendered invisible by our own brains. We can scale these personal blind spots up to macro-level institutional blindness. The 2008 financial crisis is a prime example. When analyzing the crash, President Obama argued it was caused by greedy bad actors abusing the system. Judge Richard Posner argued the opposite, blaming a poorly regulated system that naturally produced bad outcomes. These analyses overlook the thousands of mortgage brokers and traders who are acting in a state of culpable ignorance. They signed off on risky loans and bundled volatile securities without comprehending the massive damage they were causing. Much like staring at the photo of the Dalmatian and only seeing static, a fast-paced, profit-driven environment acts as a filter. It hides the ethical disasters of our actions from the very people causing them. Corporations spend billions of dollars every year trying to fix this. They roll out traditional ethics training, mandate MBA oaths, and enforce massive compliance laws like Sarbanes-Oxley. These massive investments routinely fail because they are built on a flawed assumption. They assume an individual actually knows when they are facing an ethical dilemma in the first place. We can look to the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger disaster to see the ultimate tragic consequence of this organizational blindness. Engineers explicitly warned management not to launch due to cold weather affecting the shuttle's O-rings. But the intense institutional momentum and a hyper-focus on launch schedules caused officials to filter out clear ethical warnings from their own team. To build a better society, we have to stop designing rules for perfectly rational humans. True ethical progress requires intellectual humility. We need to admit that our brains are trying to hide our flaws and start designing systems that account for those blind spots.